Hello, everyone. We're waiting just a couple minutes for everyone to join. You missed the backstage conversation. Um, Eric knows this story, and we were telling Abdel as well. But my cousin has a barbecue business in southeastern Ohio, and it's called Buckeye Barbecue. But his tagline, because of the stereotypes of southeastern Ohio, is smoke meat, not meth. So it's like when we were in school, Eric, we didn't we have like that drug? What was that? It was like Dare or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, that's right. The
Yeah.
dare. You could have set this up a little bit better. You could have just said, "Hey, backstage we were talking about meat and meth."
Yes.
And just leave it at that. Let everybody try to figure out what the heck it is we're talking about. By the way, you should add that he's also the superintendent of a school, which blows me away. I think I'm a co-founder of a semi-pro soccer team also, and the complaints we get on the jerseys is that the kids can't wear them to school because our front of the kit sponsor is Old Hickory Brewery, and since it says
Oh,
brewery, they can't wear them to public schools. Yet your boy's making a T-shirt that says "Smoke meat, not meth." I love it.
yep, yep. We were picking out hats the other night. It was fitted or trucker was the big discussion. Of course, I'm old school, I'm fitted, and everybody's like, you got to go with a trucker. And I'm just like, yeah, you can't, I guess you can't put that tagline on a fitted ball cap.
I
So,
think on a meat and meth hat, you got to go trucker, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
No offense to any
Well,
truckers.
we probably should go ahead and get started with today's episode of The SIP. For anyone tuning in, welcome to The SIP. It isn't a conversation around barbecue and meth. It's a space where conversation fuels connection, collaboration, drives innovation, and industry leaders come together to tackle challenges, just like catching up over coffee. The SIP is all about meaningful discussion that move us forward. At TMC, we're committed to fostering a forward-thinking environment where our members thrive, grow, and make lasting impacts. And today, we are here to share insights, real-world case studies, and strategies that highlight the power of working together. And a big thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us. Today's show is proudly sponsored by Model Match. And if you are in the industry and thinking about growth, you are at the right place with Model Match, a platform you need to know about. And today we have the right people to talk us through this. Joining me is Eric, the co-founder of Model Match, and I think that most of you know Eric. But Eric, welcome to the SIP.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I always love hanging out and talking to you anyway, Jody. And I promise we'll just put the meat and the meth to the side and we'll get into a different kind of meat.
The meat and potatoes,
That's
and
right.
we also will try to avoid the farm talk. We might have to like extend after the show is
I'm okay
over.
with that.
And we've got the lender's perspective in the house today. Abdel here. I knew I would butcher it. I did it perfectly in prep, but
You did.
Kwatmi from
Yeah.
PRMG, he is here to share how his team is actually putting Model Match to work. Abdel, great to have you here with us, even though you're sporting that shirt.
I knew it. And Eric knows I was gonna bring it on, so we're
Well, I
ready to
Is
should have
it
go.
thought of that.
opening day or something? Like
I could have put my Yankees
what's
hat on.
going on?
Oh yeah. Die-hard Yankees fan. Let's go.
Who do they play?
Mariners, I believe.
Oh, he's not
Yeah,
diehard. He doesn't even know who the game's
we
against. So,
yeah. Well, it's early in the season, so
Well, we just
we'll
took
let
care
him
of San
ride a little bit.
Francisco though. They made a trip to the Bay and did the job.
oh wow, wow, I love it. Love the sports rivalry. So, Eric, for anyone tuning in who has not yet encountered Model Match, can you set the stage for us and what does the platform do, and who is it built for?
I've been thinking about this a lot lately because we always try to come up with our elevator pitch or how can I say what we are in a matter of 15 seconds or 20 seconds. By the way, one of the things I love about the Mortgage Collaborative events, I always sign up for I can't remember what we call them, but Melanie always holds my hand and make sure I don't screw anything up. But the lightning demos or whatever we
Oh
call
yeah,
them.
the lightning
Yeah.
showcases. Yeah, yeah.
These things are 6 minutes long, and it's not possible to share everything that Model Match has built in 6 minutes. But I do it because I actually like the test. I like to be and sometimes I come out of that thing and I'm like, that was a train wreck. I didn't do a good job at all. And other times I feel a little bit better about it. You know, NMLS data, real estate data, top of the funnel all the way down. If it involves those two things, ask me, and Model Match probably does it. That's probably the easiest way to start. But you just made me think of something, Jody. We are talking about the Yankees and sports. So let's compare it to, right now I'm all into March Madness. I think a lot of us are into March Madness. And I think about things like the teams that generally perform the best this time of year, especially at end of games, and I'm sort of calling out my Duke homies right now after that game last week, but the ones that perform the best at the end of games or in out of bounds plays or after a timeout are the ones that are prepared. And think about preparation. If you've ever been an athlete, you watch your opponent's game film before you play against them, and you strategize relative to that game film. When the game is over, you watch your own game film and you strategize again. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? What could we improve upon? You look at statistics. How do we do on turnovers, deflections, rebounds, offensive, defensive rebounds? We're not just looking at the score. Well, I view Model Match that way. Model Match is the tool to put you in a position to take advantage of opportunity when they present themselves. But in addition, it presents the opportunity. So that might be the best way to kind of kick it off. And then I know we'll get deeper into that as we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't take 6 minutes for that. So I appreciate you being brief.
You're
And I
welcome.
know you've been heads down building some significant new capabilities. And before we bring in Abdel, tell us what is new and what have you been working on?
The biggest North Star is ease of use. So, I don't come from SaaS. I don't come from technology. I was a recruiter sitting in a cubicle dialing for dollars that one day sort of figured out 15 plus years ago, there has to be a better way to do that.
Yep.
So Model Match became the solution to a problem. And we continue to look at the problems that exist within our users and come up with solutions. But
Yep.
eventually you reach a point where you listen to those things, you're built in public. So the platform is actually built by your users, and you take a step back and you realize, I'm just going to be honest with everybody on this call, it's a little bulky. We need to clean it up. We need to make it easier for the originator that's just walking into an open house that wants to look at some statistics and active listings on an agent, that they can do that without ever having to think about it. That's the
Yep.
North Star, and that's this release that's about to hit. Abdel has seen kind of a sneak peek of it. But we also did that because we're layering on additional data that we have exclusivity over, which is pre-closed data. So we can start to
Yep.
show some almost propensity modeling on what can you anticipate in a market where you're thinking about growing and you're
Yep.
thinking about expanding in. So that's been our North Star. I am as excited as I've been about any release in the history of this company. It's literally happening as we speak.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, I have a friend, and if she's listening, she'll know I'm talking about her. But she once said in a meeting with a couple of, one was a partner of TMC, one was a vendor. And she says, you know what the best technology is? And everybody's like, what? Like, she's going to tell us something profound. She was like, it's a technology that no one talks about
Yeah.
because it works, it's intuitive, and it allows people to do the work. And in the world of data and having so much data, being able to put it into a manner that people can consume it and gain insights without having to think or click or need a user manual is extremely important. But Abdel, let me bring you in here. We're not going to ignore you because you're Yankee shirt. You've been using Model Match for a while now, and I understand you're using it across the full ecosystem and not just for one function. So walk us through how you actually shows up in your day-to-day work.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I always say is obviously we're an area manager. We've got multiple branches, multiple loan officers. I always say in our ecosystem, Eric knows this, right? I have three clients that we cater to, right? the originator, the real estate agent, and then the consumer, right? So from an originator's perspective, the first thing that we break it down to is sales, service, support. So sales, where is your business coming from? Is it consumer direct or is it B2B? Let's focus on B2B for the sake of the conversation. Is B2B, okay, real estate agent, you just met a real estate agent at a networking event, or you just met a real estate agent wherever, or you just had a conversation. The first powerful part to a conversation is obviously knowing who you're speaking to. So who do they close with? What's their specific demographic of an area that they cater to? What's their clientele? Is it buyers? Is it sellers? What's the specific loan type? Is it FHA? Is it conventional? Is it high percentage of cash? Because then from there, when we go to meet in person or jump on a Zoom, it's very easy for me to cater a conversation as to, based on those metrics, how can I help you? Because if you're a very heavy, high level cash, you work with a lot of cash buyers, I need to also say, all right, so you obviously probably do a lot of listings. Did you ever think about having agents under you where we can start being strategic in regards to acquiring buyers to simultaneously supplement more growth from there? If you're also a real estate agent that works with multiple lenders, those are my favorite, because those are the ones that I say, hey, dude, we need to identify why you haven't found that rock star gorilla, me, to be able to help you and identify that stuff. Or on the contrary, if you do work with a consistent lender, I'm going to go on Zillow and I'm going to find that you're a premier lender under them, so they're paying for your ad spend. So I know that there's a vested interest from that perspective. And it all starts from model match, where the admins identify a specific real estate agent. A real estate agent is simultaneously, the loan officers let the admins know. They pull that data, they provide it to them. The new interface, guys, is crazy because it's so easy. In the digital world of AI right now, it's all about simplicity, which is what Eric was literally just saying, right? I want to be able to click two buttons, and if I can't click two buttons, I'm on to the next platform. And that's the world of chat and Claude and Gemini and Copilot and everything else. But then from a real estate agent's perspective, if you're a team lead and you're looking to potentially recruit real estate agents, everybody says that they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then you pull up their data and you're like, maybe not, right? Or on the contrary, it's maybe we need to figure out a specific area that we can help kind of corner. And the new update that's coming out, again, as he said, is we could start hitting certain markets that we might identify as, ripe for the picking and take it from there. Consumer perspective, I think, again, if we're working with a consumer in an area that we may necessarily not have a reach to, very easy for me to pull data very quickly or identify consumers as to who are eligible for refinance opportunities with borrower insights, who are eligible for opportunities from high equity where we could do some HELOC opportunities because they don't want to get rid of that home and trade that 2-3 fancy percent interest rate, and we'll go with a remodel on top. Let's do a HELOC. I made about 2 pennies on it, but at least now you're taken care of. You're happy. I can connect you with a contractor. I can connect you with a partner. And now that client for life relationship is established. So,
hey, Jody, can I add something? If you don't mind?
Please do.
So first off, if you don't know Abdel, you should be following him. We always talk about up and comers. He's really not an up and comer. He's he's here, but his brain is like, we all go to Claude and GPT and Perplexity and other, that is who Abdel is. And so you should follow his content because he'll break things up into pieces versus what he's trying to do right now, which is talk about everything he does, which is virtually impossible. But he is the originator of the future. He is the manager and the leader of the future because he understands how technology creates an efficiency. There's something he said, though, that I think might have gotten hidden in everything he said. He didn't just say who to reach out to. He said what to say. Use the intelligence to know what to talk about. How are you ultimately going to create value? The other thing that he was talking about this is why he and I are like, we have our own little podcast that we just do for 15 minutes. We pick a controversial topic and we just put it out into the ether. It's called Settling Scores. But nonetheless, I come from business development. I don't come from selling somebody numbers. I'm not interested in that. So we're constantly thinking, how do these data sets put you in a position to generate an outcome? And here's an example. He was talking about borrower insights. Well, the first borrower insights came from the idea of transaction detail. We've got all the property and transaction details going back to the end of 2016. So databases and having them is a thing of the past. Like you have login, you've got your database. But what about this? How about being able to access the borrower customer information, the AVM, the payoff, the equity percentage, and begin some outreach to go do what? Drive an extra loan. I say all this to say, Jody, you and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago. People talk about strategic growth and their brain immediately goes to recruiting. Everything
Yeah.
Abdel's talking about is also things that can help your current originator just do one more loan, help your agent do one more loan. Because isn't that ultimately what we want? And yes, you can then layer it on to branch acquisition, company acquisition, loan officer acquisition, agent acquisition. So anyway, I'll stop, Jody, because I know Abdel he and I will take this thing over and it'll run for 3 hours if you're not careful.
It's great content, and it really is what people are talking about. And one other point that Abdel made and that he was pointing out is it is about the platform using it cross-functionally and not just siloed for one specific area. And a lot of lenders buy technology and they only deploy for one use case or one problem and never unlock the rest of the value of the platform. So, Abdel, how did you build the discipline to move more broadly? And how have you been able to get the adoption of the loan officers and your sales managers to also adopt the cross functionality of Model Match?
It's a work in progress for sure, right? But I think when it comes to adoption in of itself, we as leaders, our role is to simultaneously show the originators this this works, right? Like,
Yep.
holy crap, I can go into a meeting, and I'm always all about layering and integrating platforms. Eric knows that very well. Where we started playing with a housing link with Scott and his team, and again, my head moves at 100 miles per hour. So, and I enjoy putting content. I enjoy utilizing AI to put the content and simplify it so the consumer does not go to the dark world of the internet and get caught into the rabbit hole that they want to find the answer to. So what better way than controlling the ecosystem? So before we meet with a referral partner, how powerful is it? Talk about adoption is I'm a heavily producing individual originator as well, aside from managing the branches, is hey, before I meet with a real estate agent, I'm actually going to pull their data. I'm also going to leverage AI to tell me about their online exposure, which is now with the new release is going to be there. So I don't have to sit there and search. You know, Jody, you've got a fairly common name. There's probably 17 million Jody Halls out there.
Yeah, one's a doctor. I don't know
Yeah,
how that happens.
I'll take that. But now I can leverage that, utilize it, house all this information in there. Notice that they work specifically. I'm in New Jersey. So let's pick a town, Toms River, New Jersey. Pull the data about Toms River, New Jersey, based on equity, based on market, based on what's happening, and show that to them. Be like, hey, dude, when you guys go to a listing, how powerful do you think it is when that client wants to wait for the summertime to list? When in reality, they've kind of missed the boat, specifically in Toms River, because from a data perspective, April, May is actually busier than the summer because people are usually either wanting to move in or you've missed the boat. I'm the lender helping the real estate agent acquire that data in advance on top of the what you said earlier, right? I've been with the same institution my entire career, PRMG, right? And we've always been great at bringing all this tech. But from a corporate perspective, it's hard to say, hey, dude, use this because it works really, really well. And to your point, a lot of institutions now are like, there's so many different layers to it where it could spiderweb to this, it could spiderweb to that. Borrower Insights is fairly new, right? I think it's about a
Yeah.
year, Eric.
Yeah, a little bit less
Yeah,
actually.
a little bit less than a year. And I know we'll talk about it, but it was actually a conversation that Eric was having at a Rangers game. And I was like, yo, dude, I'm using about 4 or 5 different platforms. And I'm trying to basically piece all this stuff together and just shooting it. And probably, I wouldn't even say a couple months later, Borrower Insights was like, hey, I put this together. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. But to your point, I think the hardest part right now in this industry at this time, because everything is moving to the AI world, is we're band-aiding everything, right? As opposed to, for me, I really like to hyper focus on one platform, focus on it, execute it, use it, track the KPIs, understand the success, and then now it's so easy for me to bring that data back to my originators and be like, hey, I met with this realtor, the call was recorded, watch the recording, here's the Notebook LM summary and transcription and all this cool stuff, and here's the data. And it all started because I was smart about where I pulled the data, which originated from Model Match.
Yep. That's awesome too. And I do think you have a advantage in that you are currently a producer. So if you if you're a sales leader that hasn't been boots on the ground for, I don't know, 10 years, 20 years, and
Even
trying to
3 years,
yeah, trying to
literally.
tell people how to tell loan officers how to conduct business and what tools to use. It's very difficult. But let's continue to talk about growth because it's really what all it comes down to. And it is a hyper focus of many of the lenders that are on. And I know that a lot joined just to hear about growth. And Dell PRMG has been really ambitious for many years, but now in 2026, what does growth look like for you this year, and how is data playing a role in that?
I think it's more about targeted relationships rather than just a shoot in the dark and
Yeah,
hope that something sticks or whatever analogy you want to fancily come
shoot
up
from
with.
the hip
Yeah.
and
And that's where we've been at, right? Like I'm somewhat particular in who I want to join our infrastructure, and I know my organization is the same way, right?
yeah,
You don't want to bring some knucklehead who's got some decent production, but is unfortunately probably not the right word, but a cancer to the infrastructure
yeah,
because it just blows
yeah,
everything up.
yeah,
And I think we're seeing that across all platforms, right? And as I said earlier, I've only been with one company. So growth is very important for us. And we've held a lot of I think our operations team has been for 20 plus years or whatever the stat is.
yeah,
Retention is huge, but on top of the retention part, I think it's just having the right infrastructure built in place to attract the originators. And that's
yeah,
kind of where we're at. We're building that key ready system where you're brand new in the industry, great, you have no bad habits. I'm going to infiltrate and show you all the habits that you should implement. And I'm going to learn from you too, right? Like I
yeah,
was originally going to law school. What the hell is mortgages, right? So I bought my first house and obviously got sucked into it from the PI world and clients getting their cases settled. But nobody, as I say, woke up and said, I want to be a mortgage lender. Or
yeah,
to Eric's point earlier, right? He didn't grow up and said he wanted to be a SaaS dude.
yeah,
Um, and I think that's where it's at. If you're targeting in your reach, it's heading into the spring and summer market on the East Coast. So that's generally when a lot of people tend to kind of stay with their current infrastructure because it's just the wild, wild west, right? Spring and
yeah,
summer is usually super busy. But to that point too, I think if you've got the right tools in place, the right structure, the right transparency too, if you're a branch manager from your P&L structure and the right opportunities for you to know where your money is at,
yeah.
how your margins are set and everything like that, I think you have a very, good opportunity to identify where you need to be.
Yeah, and know how to tell your story, right? And it sounds like that you're very good at that. Eric, you have lenders across the country using the platform with different growth goals, from very small growth goals to very ambitious growth goals. What patterns are you seeing in how top performing lenders are using data right now?
Yeah, and I think I sit in a little bit of a unique seat also because before we built Model Match, all I was doing was working with companies, actually helping them build out their business development processes and even partnering to help them do their work with human capital doing the outreach. So even though I'm not personally doing that anymore, I get phone calls every day, all day, from people saying either I'm looking to make a change and I'm trying to figure out how do I navigate that, or we're looking to expand and we're trying to figure out how to navigate that. So you asked me a specific question is how the ones that I think are doing it the best, how are they doing it? And I guess the simple answer is this. Outside of using data and intelligence to navigate where they're going to spend that time, they first start off with understanding who they are across shared core competencies and then building out the story and the communication so it's consistent and predictable across the organization. So when Abdel tells the story and then introduces an originator to even an underwriter or a support person, they're communicating the same way that Abdel is. In addition, they've learned how to turn those bullets into validating stories. Jody, you just kind of
Yeah,
alluded to that. Nobody cares how quickly you close loans.
Yep.
So stop saying it. I mean, I can see it in model match, by the way. I can go into a market and I can see based upon application activity are the turn times trending up or trending down? Like we can see that. What they want
Yep.
to know is how did somebody on your team save a deal that caused you to win an opportunity with an agent
Yep.
who you've never done a loan with, and now you're doing 1 or 2 units a month?
Yeah.
That
Yep.
moves the needle for a recruit. Okay, but there's a flip side. Going back to the best. So understand who you are, build your validating stories, have consistency and predictability across that with that communication across the organization. But the other piece is this. Do not forget who's already on your team.
Yeah.
Because I spoke at an event not that long ago, $2 billion company, big user of Model Match. He got up on stage and he shared what his goals were for the next 12 months. Super excited. They've done a lot of great things, new tools, new resources, great validating stories. This is how we're going to add this many LOs, and that's going to relate to this number. We're going to hit our goal. Well, I come up on stage and I say, you may never invite me back, but I'm going to tell you the truth. If you will take care of the people in this room to help them all do one more loan a quarter, you'll hit that goal without hiring anybody else.
Yeah.
So it's the companies that combine the two, Jody, that are really being the most successful, and they're utilizing Model Match to navigate that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is, it's, the real differentiator between lenders isn't just the data that they have access to, but their ability to use that data to be able to drive the needle. And Abdel, what would you say to lenders, your peers out there who are sitting on data? They have every system in the world, but they haven't figured out how to activate it. What would you tell them to do? Where do I start?
Plan, implement, execute. Right. You've got the plan. You come up with the data. You've got to implement. Pick up the phone, call, hire a team to make the calls, whatever the case may be. Right. We always say you have to recruit the right clients or recruit the right originator, retain your clients or retain
Yep.
your originator. And if you're successful at both, you gain revenue, right?
Yep.
And that's probably where, and I always speak in these analogies or in these storytelling because I think it's easier to grasp, but a lot of professionals tend to fail at the execution part where you
Yep.
grab all this data, right? You go to Model Match and you pick a specific area and agents who close
Yep.
anywhere from 2 to 10 million. And then now it's a fancy CSV file that's stuck in your desktop. And I don't know about you, but I have to clear my goddamn computer every like 3 months because it's like low space, low space, low space.
Yeah.
But it's like if I get a new I mean Eric's seen it literally live, but if I see something, I mean we're going immediately and I don't get paid by dropping these platforms. I just literally say it because it's done. But we use Scribe, so it's just an immediate plugin in my computer. I don't want to have to do the old school way of grabbing a snipping tool and then snip it
Yep.
and then right under it and whatever. Hit Scribe, it's going to articulate everything. I'd go to Canva, create a custom checklist for the team. I never want to have this conversation again as to how I want something to be done because it's
Yep.
all articulated. Not a recorded video that is 10 minutes long that you're going to lose them after 30 seconds,
Yep.
right? So yeah, peers, colleagues, plan, implement, execute. And the key execution, and I'll add at the end is track, right? Track
Yep.
what worked, right? Lead came in, and this goes really for anything, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
a tech platform or whether it's a consumer direct or whether it's B2B, are you tracking the data that you're pulling? Because you might be fishing in the wrong pond. Because
Yep.
God knows all
Absolutely.
of us find ourselves fishing in the wrong pond. The difference is, do we wait a year later and be like, wow, that sucked? Or today, whenever this gets dropped, it's the last day of the quarter, March 31st. I already know our growth metrics of what it was in 2025. I also know what it was in Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 of
Yep.
2025. And I know statistically it's cold in Jersey. So it's usually when people tend to somewhat not want to move. But this market over the last 5, 6 years is an anomaly too, right? The people are taking their kids out and they don't care. Hey, sorry, you're gonna finish three more months of school in Tom's River.
Yep.
But
Yep.
act on the data, guys, because data just sitting there in your pile is going to take up space, and it's going to yield you no results.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it were easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
So, Eric, if someone wants to learn about model matches, what you do today, about the platform, about what your roadmap is, where to get started, how do they find you?
Find me on LinkedIn. Hit me email, eric.levin@modelmatch.com. Go to our website if you want to book a demo. I'll add to that. We have no sales group. We have no sales group. And I say that because your loan officers are not going to get peppered by Model Match. And maybe that's a mistake to a current
Right.
investor of Model Match. However, for all of you, it should be very comfortable.
Yep.
When you want to hear about something, ask the co-founder. And we're going to ask the head of product. I mean, Abdel has a relationship with Thomas Seelbinder, our head of product. We don't hide those people behind the scenes. You guys are building this product. And at the end of the day, our North Star currently is be the product that has the most data, that goes the deepest, but it's also the easiest. And that's what I'm most excited about. Secondly, is curation, automation, where I envision Model Match in the very near term. And part of this release is putting us in a position to now take advantage of more AI functionality, which we're already using in the app. But we were talking about basketball earlier and game film. Model Match is your game film. But Model Match should also be the one that just says, here's the play you should run.
Yep.
Here's the play. And you click a button and we give you the play. You're going to start to see that throughout the entire app. So hit me up on LinkedIn, go to the website, modelmatch.com. Email address is eric.levin@modelmatch.com. Come straight to me. I'm not going to hand you off to somebody.
Yep. And if you're driving through Hickory, North Carolina, stop at the brewery and give Eric a call.
Hey,
So
it's almost summertime. Come to a semi-pro soccer game. I'll treat you right.
that's awesome. Well, that's a wrap. It's been an incredible conversation. We truly appreciate the insights from each of you today. Thank you to Model Match for sponsoring the episode and to Eric and Abdel for lending their expertise. And of course, a special shout out to all of our listeners. Your engagement helps drive the industry forward. We'll see you back next week on Tuesday, April the 7th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you're not yet a member and you want to explore everything TMC has to offer, feel free to reach out to me directly. And until next time, cheers and keep sipping. Thank you guys. It was fun.